If you have heard of DCS, you might think it's a simulator which is hard and expensive to get into. But the truth is, that's just a lie. People will make these videos explaining how they have entire multi-$1,000 flying setups, but in reality, buying those is just by choice, and they're not necessary to enjoy flying in DCS. Hi guys, I'm Moonblaster76, and in this video, I'm going to not only explain, but I'm going to show you how you can get into DCS for relatively cheap. If you're a DCS veteran, you still might find this video useful because of a tool that can let you map your buttons super easily and save a lot of effort trying to set up different jets or helicopters. I've personally been flying DCS since 2024. I used to fly the F-16 and F-14, but I took a break for a year and now I'm coming in as a somewhat new player, but I still have the old muscle memory which I used to have back in the day. Anyway, let's get into the video. Now before I start, I want to clarify that DCS can be very intensive to run, but it's only intensive at high graphics settings, as with any game. DCS is still a very old game, and so can run on older hardware, older than you might think. DCS is actually about 16 years old at this point. It came out in 2008. I'll link a video which dives deeper into DCS hardware if you're interested, but from my own experience, I used to run DCS completely fine on my old setup, which was an RTX 3060 12GB, a Ryzen 7 2700X, and 32GB of DDR4 RAM. In DCS, your FPS matters a lot less than you might think. If you can get a smooth 60 FPS, that could be all you need, because DCS is a simulator. You don't need to run 100 plus FPS just to play the game, because it's slower paced and less reliant on gathering information quickly, like first-person shooters, for example. But if you do want to get high FPS, there's still ways of setting up the right graphics settings for your setup. One other thing I want to bring attention to is that DCS can load super slow if you install it onto a hard drive. From my experience, when I used to play DCS right when I got into it, I had it on a hard drive and my load times would be super long, sometimes even upwards of 5 minutes. But when I upgraded my PC and made the switch to an NVMe SSD, my load times dropped significantly. Most of the time I would load into whatever I wanted to in less than a minute. And most importantly, storage is a big concern. The minimum DCS specs, as stated on the website, is 200GB and recommended being 500GB. But that's only if you plan on getting multiple maps, modules, mods, and more. So if you have the space to try DCS, don't let any PC spec recommendations shy you away from at least trying the simulator. And if you do end up trying it, the next section of the video will explain what you can do once you have installed DCS onto your PC. I'll again link loads of tutorials and guides in the description to help you if you need it. A lot of people have gotten the misconception that you need a HOTAS or hands-on throttle and stick to fly DCS, but the truth is, flying with a HOTAS is just completely by choice. A famous case of someone who doesn't fly with a HOTAS in the DCS community is a YouTuber named Tuvas, who made the switch a long time ago. He ditched his $3,000 setup just to fly on an Xbox controller. He comfortably flies with an Xbox controller with no issues whatsoever. In his guide, as well as a later section of this video, where I'll not dive into it as deep as his video, but still talk about it, he explains how he sets up his controller to be able to map all the buttons he needs to play. Another thing you might be concerned about is head tracking. In DCS, a lot of people use a tool to physically track their head, whether it's a VR headset or a device called Tracker, which sends signals to a sensor which you mount on top of your monitor from a light strapped on your head. These head tracking solutions can be expensive, but they aren't necessarily what you need for DCS. There are tools out there like OpenTrack, which I use myself, which give you reliable enough head tracking for free using just your camera. Some people use their own DIY head tracking or a phone camera mount if they don't have an external camera they can connect to their PC. Some are free and some are paid, but there's no one clear pick for what you need to have for head tracking. Some people don't use head tracking. It's entirely up to you to choose what you want. VR is available for those who want the immersion. OpenTrack is a free option, and TrackIR is a more reliable paid option for those who want it. The last thing I want to talk about in this video is DCS modules. Many people say that DCS isn't free to play, or that you will feel like you are required to pay for a certain jet in the game. But DCS has a free trial system which will allow you to try a module for free in a 2-week window with a 6-month cooldown. And there are plenty of modules which allow this program. Not all of them, but plenty. Some examples include jets like the F-16, the FA-18, the F-14, helicopters like the AH-64, and even maps like the Syria map or the Kola map, which I'm actually trialing right now, in fact. There is an option to continually try a new module every 2 weeks while waiting for a different module to complete its 6-month cooldown. And the system allowing 2 weeks gives you plenty of time to learn the jet as complete as you want to. Even if you end up buying a module, there's a range of price options. There are non-full fidelity modules which don't have clickable cockpits while coming in at a cheaper price, and there are full fidelity modules which have a clickable cockpit but come in at a more expensive price. And even those full fidelity modules have a range of prices. Another thing is DCS has a lot of sales where modules can go down half off. There's actually a sale running right now, as a matter of fact. A lot of people wait for modules to go on sale before buying them. On top of that, DCS has a cashback reward system where you get a currency called miles back for what you purchase that can be used to discount future purchases. Now, I've talked a lot about DCS, but it's time for me to show you some gameplay. So here I am in DCS. I'm currently flying the Su-27 Flanker. I'm flying with my controller, and I'm using the free OpenTrack head tracking software. As you can see, everything looks pretty awesome. My head tracking isn't bugging out. It works pretty good, especially considering that I'm using just my camera and a free open source software. But yeah, this is pretty good. Now, let me show you Steam input before I just show you the general scenery. So, here is Steam input. If you come here, you can bind everything from your D-pad to your triggers, your joysticks. But I bind my buttons directly to keyboard buttons instead of having to bind them to be Instead of binding them directly to A and then mapping A in DCS, I can just bind them directly to the pre-bound buttons in DCS. Because as you can see here, a lot of buttons are already pre-bound in DCS, except for the ones which you don't really need that much. But most of them are already bound, like the useful ones at least. For example, electrical power switch, visual recon mode, electrical power switch, engine start, AI comms commands. If you're flying with AI, you can tell them to cover you. So then you can just go directly into Steam input and bind them here. So here you can have your action sets and your action layers. I haven't set this up yet, so I'm not the best to teach you. But what you can do is you can have one action set, and under that action set you can have action layers. So if I have an action set for the F-16 Viper, for example, and one which is there for when I'm on the ground and taxiing, it'll have different buttons. For example, let's say the keyboard shortcut G is for my gear. If I am on the ground, I can bind this button to gear. But if I'm in the air, I wouldn't need to use this button if I'm in a dogfight. So I can bind this to be like chaff or flare or something. So I can make a new action layer called Viper Dogfight. And I can go ahead and bind this to something else. and they would be different. So I can switch Y, this one's G, and so on. And you can also make different virtual menus. You can add multiple, let's say Viper ground. And when you create the menus, you can switch between them as well as switch between action sets by using the menus. Instead of having to bind the button to switch between action sets or action layers to a physical button, you can just bind it to one of your virtual menus. That would also allow you to switch your virtual menus around. So I can have a Viper Ground virtual menu when I'm on the Viper Ground action layer. And I can have an air-to-air weapons virtual menu when I'm on the Viper Dogfight menu. And it creates just fluidity. Instead of having to remember 20 different binds and 10 different modifiers, you can just remember the binds for each specific mode and have modifiers for each specific mode. Or even if you don't want to remember the buttons, you can name your virtual menu buttons. If I put it to space, like space is fire weapon in DCS. For a keyboard shortcut, the space key is usually fire weapon. But if I put it as a virtual menu input, it wouldn't say that this is for firing my weapon. It would just say space key. I can rename the command. If I wanted, I could say this is my gear. And then I can change this to G. And just creates that fluidity. Anyway, let me enjoy the scenery of Kola. The Kola map is pretty beautiful. I'm not even gonna lie. So yeah, the main reason why I ended up switching to Steam input, even though I had a HOTAS, was literally just because I couldn't remember the key bindings. I used to go to boarding school, so I would take long breaks between when I would play DCS, and whenever I would set up the controls, I would always forget them. So using Steam input just helped me to like really remember everything, using the virtual menus especially. In conclusion, if you are a new player, don't feel like you need to have so much money just to try with DCS, or even just to play it. You can still have tons of fun playing DCS completely for free, while getting as much out of it as a person with a $5,000 setup. If you have any questions, leave a comment down below. If you liked the video, please leave a like or consider subscribing. It's free and helps out a ton. In my next video, I'll go over more free things you can do with DCS that will enhance your experience. But otherwise, have a good day, night, or whatever you're doing right now, and goodbye.